as much as it sucked, and I hated it. And there were points where I was like, are we absolutely mental for making quite a significant change in Olympic year? Like, should I just stick through it? I think that now we are starting to really see like the positive side of it. And it was just the fact that I don't know, I just knew it was going to work. So I just stuck with it, even though, it wasn't easy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott, and back with me, as always, is my good friend, Dan, and plenty to go through on this week's episode as we are reviewing last week's World Championships. A very successful meet on the British side, as there are two new World Champions to talk about, one of which is going to be joining us later on in this show. One Olympic qualified relay, finally, and so many more talking points, as well as like international swimmers just crushing it because world records in February. What on earth?
Yeah, well, I mean, we may have labelled this meet as possibly the weirdest world champs that we've probably ever had. The build up to it, obviously being in February, is very difficult to kind of tell where these swimmers are, but there were some very fast swims. I mean, a massive world record was broken. I mean, it was a big world record as well, which I'm pretty sure no one saw coming. Some of the races were just amazing. And I tell you what, the Paris Olympics, based on that, are truly going to be special.
Yeah, let's start with that then, because what this meet did for me in terms of heading towards Paris is showed the depth in world swimming.
Yes.
What is really on offer, because usually at world championship level meets, this top level, the media coverage and the interviews and everything gets swallowed by the usual suspects, which are the Americans, the Australians. But what this showed me was that world swimming's deep right now. To make an Olympic final in Paris is going to be an achievement in itself. I think just a fact to show how diverse these world championships were, there were 30 different countries that medalled. And some of like the lesser known swimmers actually got a chance to stand out.
And I think that's the big talking point. Let's say your fringe, your 4th, 5th, 6th sort of finalists, these guys are now suddenly on the podium based on these worlds. I mean, I'm going to throw a name here, Marit Steenbergen, who I think had one of her strongest meets probably ever. She's now a world champion, and she's just swam a 52.2, right, for the 100.
Yep.
That's really good going. I think that challenges a lot of girls in that event. And the fact that she has now got onto that podium, stood on top of the podium, is that now a massive confidence booster? I think it is. I think it's a massive confidence booster. And it's not just her. Claire Kazan is another one. She swam very, very well. Would she be on top of the backstroke podium? When you've got Kelly McEwen, you've got Regan Smith.
Come Paris. I don't know.
It's difficult, right? It's difficult, but she's got the top of the podium. And that, again, with that new confidence that she's got, is she now a potential gold medalist? Who knows? A 205 and a 200 backstroke in February. That's good. That's decent.
Yeah. I mean, she's only the third person ever to do a triple in a stroke.
Yeah, exactly.
She won the 50, 100 and 200, which is wild when we were like ranting and raving about how special it was when Kaylee McEwen did it last year. It's like suddenly for people who cover swimming, like me and you, and for the avid watcher of swimming, there's so much more knowledge that everyone has gained going into Paris. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, you know what, Marit Steenberg, dark horse for the podium. Like, come that 100 free. That's a fast time she went. Like, I think we'll dig into this in like a video on the YouTube channel, but I very much think this is like the Phelps effect. The fact that there is this deep in swimming right now, because it's so many years after his Beijing Olympic triumph, the 8 golds. Dan, I'll let you do the math. I think it's 16 years now, essentially.
That'll do. I'll go with it, yeah.
And what you're finding is that these people who are now making their way onto the world scene will have been like growing up in the sport very infancy when Phelps was big. And maybe this is why it's such a broad net now in world swimming, and why it is going to be so hard to make not even a podium, a final in Paris.
I think it just makes the sport so much better.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to have your global superstars. At the moment, you'd probably say Leo Marchand is probably the guy. Right, but the fact that there's other people who are now challenging that sort of position, it's not just him, it's Molly O'Callaghan, Summer McIntosh, those guys, but there's swimmers underneath.
There's so many swimmers underneath.
There's a lot, especially the women's 200 iron. We'll come on to that anyway. But maybe the Phelps effect is coming into play here. It's an interesting one.
We'll deep dive into it closer to the Olympics, I think.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk Brits then, because this is a British swimming podcast. This is what our niche is. This is what we talk about.
Yep.
British swimming came away with 8 swimming medals. Not our predicted double digit that we kind of went into the meet thinking was possible. But we also said in the preview, we wouldn't be disappointed if we didn't get double digits because it's a free hit to see what happens. And I want to start with open water because when that preview podcast was recorded, the open water hadn't happened. When it went live, it had happened, and we need to give these guys their props.
Yes.
So out of the 4 Olympic quota spots that were on offer in Doha, 3 of them were secured by open water swimmers. Toby Robinson, Leah Crisp, and Hector Pardo, with Hector winning bronze.
Yeah.
It kind of just shows that distance swimming in this country, especially the open water scene, is in a good place.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at Leah Crisp, who started as a pool swimmer. Amber Keegan started as a pool swimmer. And I think some of these swimmers are now starting to make this transition, thinking, actually, I am good enough to swim in the open water. And you've got the likes of Toby Robinson and Hector Pardo, who I'd say is open water specialists. And they are swimmers to look up to, especially because they're a little bit older, aren't they? A little bit more experienced. They know what they're doing.
Been on the scene for a while now.
Absolutely, and of course Hector just won his bronze, so it's another way of inspiring the next lot of potential open water swimmers. I think it can only be a good thing in this country because I think we've spoken about it before, especially on the women's side. Distance swimming is getting there. It really is.
Getting there. Really
yeah, and I think if the option is there to go to the open water side, like Leah Crisp has just done, then by all means go for it.
A fantastic decision by the looks of it with her and Jamie Main targeting the open water. It was something like, it must have been like a year ago now. She started really targeting it. We had her on the podcast where she said, look, the selection criteria to go for in the pool distance swimming, it's just tough. Ledecky causes very fast times for nomination standards. You go to open water, you've just got to be in the top 16. Like that. Okay, it's in itself, you've got to get to Worlds, you've got to be selected. I'm making that sound like it's an easy achievement. It definitely isn't. Definitely isn't. I want to talk about Andi Manley as well, because we've said this distance squad that they've got there is doing incredibly well. This Worlds was, right now, the crowning moment. I don't feel like it is. I feel like there's a lot more to come.
I agree. I honestly think there is a lot to come. Obviously, the big talking point is Dan Wiffen being the world champion for Ireland for the first time in both the 800 and the 1500. He's backed
the 15.
up. Yeah, he's backed up his world record swim from short course earlier in the season to become world champion, and the times were very good. Very good. I mean, I'll start with the 800. A 740 is pretty good going, and especially when the world record is as hard as it is. That's
you don't
really
need to worry
good.
about that world record.
That's it. But the biggest talking point is that 15 to go 14:34 to be 3 seconds off the world record already. I believe it was a PB for him as well. I think he had a bet with Andi, didn't he? The fact that they were contemplating whether he was going to go PB, and well, he's done it now. And obviously, what do you reckon? Do you reckon he is now one of, if not the favourite for the 15 based on that swim? But it's difficult because some of the swimmers weren't there.
The favourite in February is almost a no from me.
That's the problem, isn't it?
He is the strongest chance for a medal that Ireland will ever have at the Olympics in the pool.
Yeah.
I think he gets a medal. Right now it's what colour?
Yes, I think so as well. And based on the times, and of course you throw in Half Nui, Sam Short, Bobby Fink, etc., I think the world record goes in Paris. I really do. The race is going to be spectacular, as we all know. It has been for the last couple of years. And it's just great that we've got someone on almost home soil, just across the sea in Ireland. And he is doing a fantastic job. And I think he's going to inspire so many Irish swimmers based on what he's doing. Yeah,
that's the exciting thing. He's going to become a Irish superstar this summer. Whatever happens, the eyes are going to be firmly on him for probably about a month in the summer, which is fantastic to see. And then there were 2 more Loughborough gold medals in the pool, Freya Colbert and Laura Stevens. Now, we teased one of them is joining us on this show. So we'll talk about the other one first.
Yes.
Freya Colbert in the 400 metres individual medley. A prediction on our preview show that we got right. Finally, we've got one of them. We got the second gold as well right, because we predicted that.
That's true. Yeah.
I watched her vlog in the lead up to Worlds, and I was really interested that she was doing stand-up 4IMs with Max Litchfield, who also won a silver on his comeback, which was fantastic to see.
Yeah.
And very much like we spoke in the lead up to Worlds that this was going to be a confidence builder for especially the Dave Hemmings squad, who really targeted this. They were like, look, we're going and we're going to swim well. Yeah. Yes, they came off the back of altitude, so there was next to no taper. Like, she literally got back from altitude and then 2 days later flew out to Doha.
Yeah, tough turnaround.
But when we talk about confidence builder, the fact that she was doing stand-ups, I think it was like every week, every day, it might have even been every session, 400 IMs, stand-up at altitude, is nuts. That's hard. So to then go do it, and you could see that she had the back end to take down Gorbenko in that freestyle, which was really encouraging to see this time of year.
It's good all round. I think if you take a look at the women's 4x2, I think she swam really well in that. Again, the back end speed, which has clearly been a target for her. I think it's a case of, when it comes to the 400 IM, try and get through the first 3 legs as best as you can, and then the freestyle leg she's got one of the best freestylers in IM right now.
She's
side.
There and thereabouts. I think she's got to work on the fly. I think that's the only thing right now. But the backstroke looks really good. The breaststroke's there or thereabouts, and the freestyle is exceptional.
It's good. So exactly. If you're on, let's say, the feet, well, you sort of Gorbenko. If you're within striking, distance, then Freya's got a great chance of overtaking you. Again, I know there's some extra names to throw in there. Summer McIntosh being the main one, obviously, which is difficult to chase her down, of course. But it's again, I'm going to throw it back to the confidence builder. She is now the champion of the world. That must build her with something inside to be able to, I am able to stand on top of the podium. Yeah. Let's go into trials. Let's win trials. Let's go into Paris, and then you never know what happens. So, yeah.
Do you know I think she's only 19, and she's now won world gold, medals at the Commonwealth Games, medals at European Championships. How is she not getting a bigger profile in this country? Like, I'm just so excited for what's possible this summer. And then trials, almost that 4 head to head with Katie Shanahan. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and not just that race as well. I mean, I don't know if she's doing a 200 backstroke again with Katie Shanahan.
Not sure.
Not sure she's doing that, but then the 200 freestyle when she's facing the other Freya Anderson.
And Abby. And
200 IM. Yeah, it's very exciting. I tell you what, those events that Freya is involved in, it's probably the more exciting events on the women's side, British-wise. Very exciting to see what she does. And you touched upon Max Litchfield as well. I think we should talk about him more.
Yeah, go for it.
So those swims I thought were brilliant. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, he's come away with silver, which is absolutely fantastic. But the times is what I thought were quite eye-opening. He was pretty close to a PB in his 2 fly. Slightly off on his 4 IM, but it's still a 4:10 this time of year is pretty good going. So it's great to see him back in a GB hat, and long may it continue.
Yeah, in terms of like men's 4 since the Tokyo Olympics, where Duncan and Brodie Williams essentially dropped the event, there has been a gap. There's been a massive void, like in terms of even nomination standards when it comes to British swimming. No one has got anywhere near it. So it's like, it's almost like a free hit for him in that event. If he can go 4:10 now, he'll get the nomination time for Paris, I would have thought, at trials. And then he's off to another Olympics, and anything can happen. 4 we saw that.
There you go.
We saw at Tokyo, actually, like the winning time. Yeah, Leon Machard is here now. The winning time in Tokyo wasn't that special. Like, it wasn't doors off.
I'm trying to remember what it was, like 4.8 or 4.9 or something like that. So it could have,
Max came fourth.
Yeah, it was one of those races. And he was, that's right, he was an outside lane, wasn't he? And you looked at the whole pool and you think, God, anyone could win this race.
Yeah.
And so Max obviously had a great chance. Unfortunately, he came fourth. He's put that disappointment behind him, hopefully.
Yeah.
And hopefully, again, fingers crossed, all goes well at trials. Then he is on the plane to Paris, and then he can correct that fourth and hopefully stand on the podium of whatever colour medal it would be.
Let's talk about another Dave Hemmings swimmer then, Laura Stevens. She became the first female world champion for British swimming since 2011. A 13-year drought, which is now gone. And I'm delighted to say that Laura is joining us now to talk all about it. Laura, thank you for joining us on this week's episode. First of all, first thing to start with, huge congratulations. You're now the champion of the world. How does that sound?
Thank you. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I'll ever tire of hearing that one. Really, it's a very nice title, and well, just something that has been, an aspiration for a very, very long time. So yeah, to finally hear it is a bit crazy, really.
We were talking before you came on about this being a massive confidence builder for so many swimmers. Would you say that your confidence has now been increased because of this performance, this swim?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just being able to, going into the meet, I really just wanted, to take confidence away from it. That was one of the main reasons why I entered it in the first place, because obviously, as you can see, there are loads of big names missing. And the conversation around entering this meet for me was about building confidence, using it as a good chance to practice doing a triple, well, hopefully a heat semi-final and a final opportunity, because you don't get that very often. And it's something that I have struggled with in the past, like being able to do the 3 swims and get faster, progress through the rounds. So from that point of view, it all just made sense to go get some practice in and try and take away as much learning from the experience as possible.
How tough was it to do those 3 rounds of swimming, let alone you swim a 200 fly, straight off the back of an altitude camp as well with no taper?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, I went into it with a very open mindset, whatever, we'll just see what comes out of the swims. We had a lot of process goals in mind, things that I've been working on at altitude that was the main thing that we were focusing on. Like, right, let's see if we can start implementing some of the stuff, because obviously end goal for me to be able to execute the perfect race, let's say, is going to be at trials and then following on hopefully in the summer. So it was a matter of really getting to grips of practicing the stuff that we'd done at altitude. But because it had been a great camp, thoroughly enjoyed it, probably I'd say one of my best altitude camps I've done. I kind of I hope that I was in a good place. I knew that it was going to be a bit of a toss-up between the fact that training was going really well. Equally, really good training means you're pretty tired. So where were the swims going to kind of land in that spectrum? But they went well. So, yeah.
What were the things you were doing in altitude? Because a lot of your swims, you've been taken out strong at the beginning. So have you been trying to work on that early 100-meter split, for example, and then almost a case of hanging on a little bit towards the end?
Yeah. I mean, well, one of the big switches that I made this season, and a lot of credit to Dave for coming up with this idea, because it's something I never would have thought of, was actually changing my breathing pattern. So I used to swim and breathe every stroke, but we've actually switched now. So I breathe every other stroke, because we found that technically it keeps me a lot flatter and it actually gives me a lot more easy speed. So, and that's kind of what actually worked. And I think it worked, and it showed at Worlds, because to be out, I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, in that final, it did look like I was out fast because no one else went out fast. Like,
I suppose,
at the end of the day, I mean, a 28.5 first 50 and a 101 flat to 100 isn't actually that crazy. It just looked like I was going out fast because no one else really went with me, which was good. But there's still there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, I think, in going out probably even faster than that in the future. Yeah.
We say this meet has been like a confidence builder, and you say you're building towards the perfect race at trials. So what does the perfect race look like for you?
I don't even know. Just executing my race plan, I suppose. Working on I'd like to set a new technical skills personal best. That's something that we've been working on around turn, start, underwater.
Okay.
So basically, trying to put together a swim which is just technically executed really, really well, and basically as little, and then in the free swim part of the race, as little breakdown as possible. That would be grand. I'd count that as perfect. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's never gonna be the perfect swim. You're never gonna walk away from it like there's nothing that I can improve there. I'm sure that there will definitely always be improvements. But if I can turn up to trials and just walk away from it and see those little improvements in those areas around the technical stuff and the free swimming, I'll be pretty happy with that. Yeah.
Can I go back to the altitude camp? So you say you've changed your breathing pattern, and obviously when you go to altitude, it's harder to breathe because oxygen and air is thinner. That must have been pretty hard if you're doing, tough, let's say VO2 sets. Like, how was that?
Yeah. It was horrible.
Yeah, I imagine.
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was the worst. It was really tough. I mean, we made the change we started making even before Christmas, and obviously we were out in altitude in October. So the building blocks we started putting in place there, and it was really tough. And there were sets where I was getting really frustrated, I won't lie, and but it was just a matter of patience, really. I could see from the underwater filming that we'd done, the feedback from Dave, and just how it felt. I could see that making this change was making a really, really positive impact on my stroke. So as much as it sucked, and I hated it, and there were points where I was like, are we absolutely mental for making quite a significant change in Olympic year? Like, should I just stick through it? I think that now we are starting to really see like the positive side of it, and it was just the fact that I don't know, I just knew it was going to work, so I just stuck with it, even though it wasn't easy.
It's the confidence you almost have in Dave right now. I feel like that's the leading light in why you essentially you let him lead you into that pain. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah. You've got another world champion in the squad now, so everything seems to actually things have gone right for the Dave Hemmings squad for a little while. They've just not had the spotlight they deserve. So what's he doing that makes you so comfortable to trust him, to give you the confidence to follow him, not whatever he says, what's the word I'm looking for? What gives you so much confidence to follow his advice?
That's a good way of putting it. I mean, to be honest, I think it's because Dave is so thorough in what he does. There's never a stone left unturned, never a question that he doesn't ask, or that you can't ask to him, that he'll sort of like turn down and just be like, nah, we don't need to worry about that. If anything, Dave definitely overthinks a few things. So it's that, like, it's just that, that the confidence that he then kind of gives you, because you're like, yes, like you just know what you're talking about. I understand it completely, and he's not afraid to be challenged on things either. Like, I'll more than happily, if there's something that's not, that I feel like maybe I want to do a bit more volume or just something like that, he's more than happy to listen, take it on board, and make the changes. It's not I think the fact that it's always such a collaboration in like the work that he does and the coaching and the group. It's never like a dictatorship, like you must do this, you must do that, with zero backing to it, just like when you ask why you're doing it, or just because it is what it is. No, there will always be a really valid reason that he can give you. So I think that's where the faith comes from, definitely.
Well, it's just teamwork and trust in the process. I think a lot of swimmers would agree with that. And obviously Dave has done his homework on everything, I imagine, and probably done too much homework. So it's clearly working for all of you at the moment. We've obviously spoken about some of the Brits already, Freya Colbert being one of them. How is she to train with, and stuff like that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it definitely, especially on this altitude camp just being, I mean, you could like feel the atmosphere in the camp. It was, everyone was there to work hard. There really wasn't any sort of moaning or complaining. It was the most, I think I've seen the entire group just go, right, we're going to put in a shift here. And absolutely everyone did. There was constant encouragement going on across the pool as well, between like all the swimmers, even if say you weren't doing a hard set. I mean, there was one day I was doing like 50s fly, and I remember Katie Shanahan just calling over from like 2 lanes, like, go Laura, and I was like
as your goggles fill with water, like,
literally like emptying out the tears, like, and especially Freya as well. I mean, I know that she's like mentioned to you guys those 400 IMs that she was doing at the end of every practice with Max. yeah, which were, I mean, really inspiring to watch, really, because like I remember getting to so many of the end of the training sessions, and I was doing a little kick set as my extra, and she had to do this 400 IM, and getting to the end of the set, like sometimes, you know, that's the last thing you want to do is then go, right, I've just done really hard race pace or something, okay, now do a 400 IM and work on your turns. But to give them both credit, they 100% did it and committed to it right from the get-go, which was so impressive, and also kind of motivating as well to see like that going on in the pool. It makes you want to work harder and go, okay, well, they're pushing, so what else could I push? And it kind of goes back and forth like that. Yeah.
Especially when the result is a gold medal at the World Championships. I mean, that's a pretty good outcome, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely. No, it was just so good to see the whole group went into Worlds in, a little bit in the dark, a little bit like we're not really sure how this is going to go. But no, I mean, I think the results really spoke for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the experience of Worlds kind of from inside? Because from us looking on outsides, a February Worlds was the weirdest thing to try and get our heads around, to prep a big meet this time of year as how we cover it. And what was it like to be a swimmer there? What did it feel like?
Yeah, it was really unique. I mean, obviously the experience actually at the Worlds, I mean, it runs just the same as any other major meet. There's no differences there, and I mean, especially when the world record got dropped in the men's 100 freestyle on the first night, that definitely was a little bit of a wake up, like, oh, okay, this is fast, like people are going fast here, because there was so much, you know, controversy around, oh, is it going to be what, like, basically, what's going to happen. But actually being there, I mean, it did feel really like the same as any other World Championships. I think the only difference for us as a team, like as a British swimming squad, we all sort of like, it was just slightly more tailored individually. We all had different like travel days, so that kind of fitted around everyone, people coming back from altitude. And when you were racing, it was very much we're here, like, get in, do your job, and then get back to training straight away. It wasn't let's do a big holding camp before, and then let's stay on until the end and all like celebrate at the end as well. There was none of like the, I don't know what it's called, the razzmatazz around around the
we'll use that.
Yep, around the competition. It was just kind of almost a bit more simplified. Like, right, we're just you're here to race, do your thing, and then get back to training, basically. Yeah.
It sounds like a logistical nightmare for like the behind the scenes stuff.
It does.
Like, the work that must have gone in for them.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have wanted to be the person in charge of doing flights and stuff. Wouldn't have been a fun job.
Yeah, because some of them went on to Australia.
In all credit to them, it kind of worked. So no.
Well, how was the British team as a whole? I mean, to come away with 8 medals, 7 in the pool, 1 in open water. I know there were a lot of unlucky fourths as well. Were British swimming happy with the results and the outcome in Doha?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think, again, going in with very little expectations, and just that this was going to be a meet very focused on process. I think even the fourths, the fifth, and the non-medal performances, there's definitely something that everyone was able to learn from and like take away. So no, I think overall the team, I mean, everyone was in really good spirits. I think everyone had a really good time. It was just a little bit different to the normal setup.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us very quickly on this week's episode of the Propulsion Swim Podcast. It's been great catching up with you, like understanding what happens at Worlds, and best of luck now leading on to London, which is like 6-7 weeks time. It's exciting.
Yeah, 6 weeks. Yeah.
Hopefully they introduce you as in lane 4 or whatever lane you're in, the champion of the world. I'm a darts
that'd
fan,
be good.
so maybe that'd be quite cool. Congratulations on that, by the way. We probably should say that a little bit more. That is a fantastic achievement, and hopefully it bodes well for trials, and then fingers crossed into Paris as well.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think good, not bad for February, you know.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah.
We've said that so many times on this podcast already.
I know.
Yeah.
So great to have Laura Stevens on this podcast. Fantastic achievement, and brilliant to see the confidence that she's gained from this medal. We've always been very excited about the two fly and what she's really capable of.
Definitely. Yes.
Let's kind of round up the Dave Hemmings squad reaction or squad performance with the women's 4x2 silver, because he had 3 swimmers in that relay. Lucy Hope was the other one.
That's right.
A silver and beating the Aussies is always a good bonus. There's a great stepping stone here in the fact that this relay team is only going to get stronger.
Yes.
Leading into Paris, with Freya Anderson potentially to come in. Yes, the Aussies, Americans and Chinese will definitely get stronger, and the Canadians. But this is an Olympic final relay.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. And if you throw in Freya Anderson as well, we can get another 2, maybe even 3 seconds faster. I know the Australians are going to be standout favourites when you throw in the rest of those swimmers. But these girls swam very well. We've spoken about Freya Colbert very briefly. She split a 157 low. But I think the swimmer of the 4 was Abby Wood. I wasn't aware that she could go a 156. I know relay takeover, but 156.
She's always been good.
Yeah, I didn't think she was that strong in it.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Actually, my surprise was progress.
Yes, that was my second surprise. Yeah. I was going to bring that up. Yeah, 158 from Medi is good going, seeing as though she's predominantly a 100-meter backstroker. So that's
she's
solid,
fast
right?
becoming a relay cog in any relay.
It seems that way, yeah. Especially like a couple of years ago, she was being almost tested, wasn't she, in the 100 free, the 200 free, in every relay, and she has done brilliantly, and that's why she's now part of the team as a key cog, like you say.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the rest of the British swimming squad then. I'm going to go straight to Adam Peaty. What were your thoughts on his week as a whole?
Ultimately, I think he swam really quite well. I was not expecting him to go a 58 point. I thought he would go 50, 59 mids to high, something like just under the sub-minute. The fact that he's gone quite far beneath that, I know that was the semi-final swim and the final was a little bit slower. He wants to go quicker through the rounds, as every swimmer does. I think he should take a lot of confidence from that. And
he will.
Yeah, I think so. I know he didn't. He got bronze ultimately, but I think that's a really confidence-building swim, and he's like a bit like all the other swimmers. They've just come off this really hard training camp.
From
Thailand, right?
Yeah.
No, I assume there was no break, no rest. It was literally
maybe
on
a week
plane.
Drop taper.
Yeah, but it's not proper. You know what Adam's like. He only swims really, really well in the summer. And I know you've done a bit of research on this, but if you compare the times of what he's done in previous years, he's going the fastest he's ever been this time of year.
Which, people won't know that. People won't notice that. They say a 58 and Adam's PB is a 56, and they'll be like, oh, okay, he didn't win the final either. So they won't take notice of that semi-final swim. I took notice. There's a video out on our main channel. If anyone wants to go and watch it, I'll probably link it about here on YouTube if you're watching there. But yeah, 58.6 is actually the fastest he has ever been in February. And only in 2020 and 2021 has he gone faster in March. Which, and I can tell you the 2020 speed was nuts. Had those Olympics not been delayed, who knows what could have happened.
Who knows?
He's even going faster now than when he was swimming his world record. So we always know Adam needs that taper. He needs the big meet, the summer, to swim very, very fast. For him to be going faster than he's ever gone, and for there to be like a glaring weakness again in his start, actually fills me with massive confidence that this summer isn't as dead as everyone thought it was.
Well, if you take a look at his 50, his start was so bad. But then swim speed, he was coming through the pack like he used to do back in the day. So swim speed is obviously there or thereabouts. I'm sure he needs to do a few more fine-tuning. But fix a start, and then suddenly you're doing as good as you've ever done. I suppose if you flip it a little bit, you look at all the other swimmers, and they're swimming the fastest they've ever done as well. So, I mean, they're all on the same playing field, I guess. But from Adam's point of view,
let's be positive.
It's a good sign for Adam. And I'm feeling a lot more confident. I was never not confident anyway, but leading into Paris, I think he is definitely on a podium for sure. But it's whether he wins gold. That's the question.
And weirdly, the pressure is off a little bit now.
Well, it's all on Chin Hyang, right?
Yeah, a little.
So,
It's weird
yeah.
to think that, but I feel
Yeah.
like it is.
Yeah.
Oh God! Right.
though.
Other medals that we came away with. Ben Proud in the 50 meters 3, the third World Championships in a row he's medalled.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk about Cam McEvoy. He got
Yeah.
a lot slower through the round. He got slower through the rounds. To go like 0.4 slower through the rounds isn't that much of a difference. But I do think Ben Proud has shown the way to beat him, which is get out fast and put some pressure on, because I think Cam felt that Ben was ahead at 15, and it just took him by surprise slightly.
Well, the thing is, everyone should know, because I've banged on about this enough times, but Ben's got the best start in world swimming, bar Dressel, but Dressel's not quite in the picture just yet. So I would assume Cam would know Ben would be at the front for the first 15 meters. It's just a swim speed that Cam McEvoy relies on. Yes, again, you want to go quicker through the rounds, but the heat swim, it's pretty difficult to go faster than that.
21-1.
21-1.
Wow.
Like, God, if you go quicker through the rounds, you're hitting a world record by the time the final comes around. Maybe that was the aim, who knows? But it's a 50 meter. I mean, he maybe got one slip on one of the strokes, or the dive wasn't quite as streamlined, something, you know. But Ben Proud has been very consistent. I mean, it's a tough race to be consistent on. You would know, being a sprinter once upon a time. The fact that he's doing it year in, year out at every major international is a credit to him and his training and everything that he's doing.
It's a little bit like Adam. For Ben to be going this fast, this early on in the year, exciting.
Yeah,
like,
very much so.
His mind will have been fully sharpened by Cam going 21-2, 21-1 all over last year, this year. And like for him to be going, what was it, 21-4? He went in the semi-finals and final.
Very good.
That's very good. A year ago, that would have won the 53 by body length.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I wonder if it's the same sort of scenario where there's no pressure on Ben. It's all on Cam.
Now.
So they have let's say the favourite going into Paris, but they could very much win gold ahead of them. I thought we should probably talk about the gold medalist in that race, because his start was worse than what Adams was in the 50 breaststroke, and yet his swim speed, I don't think I've ever seen anyone swim so fast. He came through the field and then out-touched Cam at the end.
Yeah, I've seen some race data on this, and the last 15 meters, he actually negative split from the first 50 from the middle 15 meters.
Oh, that is
which is
mad
unheard of.
I don't know how he's done that. Like,
negative split of 50.
That's insane. But another name to watch out for. If he can nail his start, then maybe he's the one to hit the world record. Then you never know. So
there's always Dressel to come back. Ryan Held maybe as well. The other medal that came was the mixed medley. We predicted the lineup correctly, which I'm proud of. But this is what happens if you listen to the Propulsion Swimming podcast and you hear the interviews with Matt Richards. The 100 fly was on the radar, maybe because of this.
Yep.
A nice bronze, a nice building step, really, because that relay is only going to get stronger. I didn't really have too many other takeaways from that.
I suppose Matt doing a fly is a big takeaway. To go 52 is pretty good, again, from a relay takeover, but still 52.8. I suppose the biggest in terms of time here, Anna went 52.5. Like, I don't think she's been faster than that since Tokyo, when they won the world record. Yeah, so she's doing very well. Something's working for her, but she's been on it as long as I can remember, actually. Yeah, she's been nailing it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how she does when she fully tapers for trials, and then consequently, hopefully, Paris as well. So that's probably my biggest Tokyo from that race,
Other thoughts about British swimming then? I think we were just very unlucky with a few fourths. This is why the double digit didn't come in. Matt in the 100 free. Although for him to be going, what was it, a 47.7 this time of year? This was like his benchmark meet, essentially. Yeah. Like, okay, this is the benchmark. Everything else is faster from now on. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, I
British record might go at trials in the 100 free again.
Hopefully,
Lauren incredibly unlucky in the 50 back, not to back it up again, get another medal.
Again, it's a 50 swim though, so something could have gone wrong, a little edge. I suppose one of the bigger talking points, and some people might look at this in a slightly different way, where Olympic champions were after the world record but became fourth in the men's 4x2. So I suppose there's a big talking point. But again, we've got so many more names to throw in there, and there's tapers to be had. But again, a fourth, and it's just unlucky that we didn't get a medal there.
A little bit. I'd sit up slightly and take notice of what else went on in that race. There were 3 143s from China, Korea, and America. So suddenly you're like, okay, we've got to be on it at the Olympics. That gold is not going to be handed to us. And I think certainly the odds have lengthened slightly on British swimming getting that gold.
I'd say so. Yeah.
But yeah, like we spoke to Matt after Worlds last year, and maybe needing a race is what actually finally gets them that world record.
Quite possibly. Yeah, we've got other names to add in. Tom, who went for the purpose of the 4x1 relay to get qualified for Paris, he'll be thrown in there. He needs a taper as well as Matt, as well as Duncan. Jimmy's to be added as well. So we've got names to be added. I wouldn't be, I'd be slightly concerned. The other countries are catching up. And it's, before it was almost guaranteed gold, wasn't it, in that event?
It's not anymore.
It was just not anymore. The Americans are extremely strong, and if you got Huang Sun-Wu swimming like he has, and then other Chinese swimmers doing what they're doing, we need to take note that we've got to be on it, definitely.
Yeah. Let's talk about that 4x1 then, because you said Tom Dean, that was the purpose of going out there. Finally qualified for the Olympics, gave himself an extra World Championships to do it. It was interesting. Like, the heat swim left a lot to be desired. The selectors put in Jacob Whittle on the first leg after he did a
you weren't happy with that, were you?
I thought, wow, that's a way to knock a man's confidence. But each to their own. They got safely through the rounds, and the time was hit in that heat swim. So then the final, they could risk it a bit. But we'll
have to message Jacob, because maybe he requested to go first, because maybe he wanted the time. Maybe. I don't know. So that could be a factor.
But essentially, the final 2 legs of Matt and Duncan was what saw them through to the final. Because at one point it wasn't looking too promising.
No, I know.
And as part of that relay, Duncan actually had a really good meet. I know he didn't come away with any silverware, but tough schedule. He gave himself a tough schedule, and he did look fast.
Yeah, he looks okay. He looked pretty good, to be fair. And I assume he's trying to give him a tough schedule to try and get himself race ready for trials. I don't know if... I assume he's going to do Edinburgh International. I don't know for sure. But maybe this is his last competition before trials, so he's trying to get as many races in as possible. That would be an understandable plan, to try and do as many races now. But yeah, in Duncan we trust. He will always pull through, I think. Again, the 203 at trials is anyone's guess at the moment of the top 2 there. But the 200 IM is looking solid. I've got to say that.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of round out this British swimming talk then, and we'll flow it into the internationals by talking about Abby in the 2am. So I think what we found out at this meet is the 2am at Paris is going to be one of, if not the deepest and fastest fields at the whole games, because Kate Douglas goes to 207, 207.0 to win gold. Sydney Pickram swims a 208, which is I think it was her second fastest time ever in February. She had a brilliant meet, and to make a final in the 2am for Abby in the summer, that's
suddenly
the goal.
Very, very tough.
It's really
hard. I mean, some of the names that weren't there, Summer McIntosh, Kaylee McEwen, Yu Ting was there, Alex Walsh wasn't there. That's 3 of them. Yuya Hashi. There's so many names to be added on top of the names we've just said, like Gorbenko, Abby, Yu Ting. It's stacked. It's so exciting. We keep going on about how good and how deep men's distance swimming is. Like, it's a golden era. I think we're in a golden era. It might even be better than the men's distance swimming.
Nuts.
Honestly, insane. So what's the aim for Abby? Yeah, obviously you've got to make a final, then you've got a shout, obviously. But that is a tough old field, that.
Do you know what's even more impressive about 200 meters individual medley for the women? You've got that depth, and that Katinka Hosu world record still feels safe.
It's strange, isn't it? It is strange.
It's a 206.1.
You think with all those names, you think, right, surely that record's going to go. But Kate Douglas, we're talking about how good that time was. It's still a second off.
Yeah.
I know summer last year in March, I think it was, 206.8. So she's the only one that's gone 2.6 recently. But still got some work to go, So yeah, very exciting. And if that world record does go, maybe that's one of the best swims we will possibly see at the Paris Olympics. Who knows?
Well, yeah, who knows what other swims could come out. I'm not predicting it in February, Dan.
No,
Well,
you
that's
can't.
a
You can't,
podcast for a
obviously.
different day.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the best swim of the meet then, because it was a world record's gone in February, a 46.8 in the 100 meters freestyle for Pan Zhanle. It felt like just yesterday the whole world of swimming was waxing lyrical about David Popovic, and now his world record has gone. The 100 meters freestyle is going to be super, super competitive in Paris, especially when you've got a guy like Pan taking it 22-2 to his feet.
Yes, that was the most insane thing.
And then you've got Popovic and Chalmers who are going to come back at him.
Yes, yeah. It's very exciting. It's so strange how this event is being dominated, let's say, by teenagers. You would have thought, like, the 100-meter freestyle, you need to be quite, stocky, like quite big, and strong. Doesn't seem that way. You've got to be quite tall, lanky, slight, because I don't know what's going on, but it is the technique. It seems it's still like a gallop, but it's a lot flatter, and there's amazing underwater shots where he's actually his hand entry and there's 0 bubbles, so he's putting 100% water, which is clearly a big thing. That's great for him, and the turn is solid. But yeah, I think the technique is a big talking point, because you look at Popovic, it's kind of up and downy, and like Phelps was kind of up and downy, and whereas Pan Zhanle is very much it's a full propulsion forward momentum, isn't it? Very interesting.
Sounds like there is a breakdown video on its way there, Dan.
I mean, maybe it's good to do a bit of a comparison between him and Popovic. The fact that they are, like I said, slight and lean, and yet they're doing these sort of times over 100 meters. It's very exciting. It begs the question, like, how far can this world record go? Like, it's very interesting. I don't know what to make of it, to be personal, but Pan Zhanle was outstanding. I had a bit of a question because he hit the world record in the relay, but you've got to back it up in the individual, and he did.
Yeah, and he did.
And it was a solid time, not a world record again, but it was like 47.4 or 5, so which is solid again in February. But he came away with 4 goals, I think it was, in the relays as well on top of. So yes, very strong showing from him.
While we're talking 4 golds and outstanding swimmers, then should we finish the roundup of this with, I'm going to say this, the greatest female swimmer of all time?
Ooh.
It's very close with her and Ledecky. Sarah Sjostrom.
Greatest female sprinter, then I'd agree with you. Difficult if you're saying the whole female. But anyway, carry on. Yes.
Sarah Sjostrom, to me, looks faster than ever, which is very exciting, because going into Tokyo, she had just come off the back of, what was it, like a dislocated elbow, shoulder injury?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. It baffles me how she's doing so well.
She got 0.2 off her 50 fly world record, and that world record is with a massive wind assist.
Yes, yeah. That blew my mind, that swim. Like, you fully expect her to come through the field because she is the fastest woman on the planet on top of water when it comes to butterfly. But then you look at the time at the end, you think, wow, what was the world record again? I had to double check. What's the world record here? 24.4, so she's 0.2 off. That world record is one of the hardest world records to get, period. And the fact that she got that close, not wind assisted, in February, very, very exciting. It's just a shame it's not happening in Paris, obviously.
Well, let's talk about the event that is happening in Paris then, the 53.
Yes.
She was 800ths off the world record. That's even more impressive.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane. I don't know what to say, actually. She's just blowing my mind every time she swims at the moment. Like, we had a bit of a resurgence of Australian sprinters, Shayna Jackson, Emma McKeon, but she's almost put those to the side, and she's head and shoulders again better than the rest of the world.
50,
I don't know what to say. What was it, the 6th straight 50 fly world title? She is no doubt a legend of the sport, and she's definitely got her hand up whether she's the best female swimmer of all time. Definitely the best sprinter, that's without any question. Will she be bigger than Ledecky? That's the question. But they're still both going, so it's difficult to say. They need to both retire, and we'll judge it after that, I guess.
Okay, fine. Who's your swimmer of this meet then? We'll finish with that.
I think I would say Claire Kazan. I think World Aquatics got it right on the female side. I would say Claire Kazan. The times, yes, it was a triple gold, which is what we used to be unheard of before last year. I know the names weren't there, but the times were good. A 58 and 100 backstroke is solid. I know she's not a 50-meter swimmer, but a 27 point and then a 205. I think that's pretty solid for me. What about you?
I think I'll stick with what World Aquatics gave it to, Dan Wiffen.
Yeah, I think they got it right. Yeah.
I know it's quite hard when we've literally just talked Pan Zhanle had 4 golds, but Dan Wiffen he did Ledecky things to Wellbrook. Wellbrook's a very, very good swimmer, and he made him look very, very ordinary.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so just so excited for Paris now, and I'm so excited that this is actually never going to happen again.
In terms of Worlds being in February?
Yeah, in case you missed it during the World Championships, it was announced the next few stages of World Championships, and Beijing 2029, which feels like forever away, but it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah.
Means that there isn't going to be a World Champs in 2028. So we're back to the 2-year cycle. We've got rid of all the COVID pandemic damage, which restores a little bit of the value of Worlds for me. And I'm really, I'm glad that's happened, because the swimming calendar needs it.
I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good. It's difficult when you have Olympic champions that aren't taking part in the World Championships. I think that's bizarre. And I get it. I understand why some swimmers haven't swam in this World, because Olympics is obviously the end goal here. And it does, I think you said it kind of devalues it a little bit when the top swimmers on the planet aren't taking part in the World Championships. That it doesn't sit right with me. So the fact that it's going back to normal, I think is only a good thing.
Okay, so that just about rounds up this week's episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, leave us a review wherever you listen as well. We will be back next week, and we will be reviewing the Bucks Swimming Championships, which are happening, in like a few days' time. They are fast approaching straight after Worlds. This is the crazy, silly season we're still in now. We're racing towards trials, and we can't wait for you to join us along the way. So me and Dan will see you in 7 days' time.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.